Thank you for attending this session. Our speaker today is Nancy Ross. Nancy is a senior GIS analyst with Mecklenburg County in GIS mapping and project services. She has 35 years of GIS experience, all in local government. She served on the board of NCAUG for 7 years. In her free time, she loves to read, hike, camp, explore, and work out.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm sure you've heard enough from me this week, but I'm glad to be able to share with you a little bit about one of the things I'm passionate about, which is using our great GIS technology to share your story, to be able to tell people in a really creative way the great things that you guys are doing or the important thing that you want to share. So I'm going to tell you the story of the 2022 Pulse Report, and you'll see why this has turned into a great project for the county. So the reason this is done is every year there is a Board of County Commissioners retreat. It's a 3-day retreat where they hear from all the different department directors of where they've gone towards the county's goals. So it's a lot of somewhat of here's all the great things we've done and here's the challenges we've faced. And it's really the chance for department directors to kind of pitch what they've got going on. And every year part of that is to do a Pulse Report. And the Pulse Report is where has the county been in the last year? It's a lot of data. Where have we been statistically towards our goals? So we have a really great staff on strategic planning and evaluation team in the county manager's office that has seen some story maps. I've done some hub sites for them and they love the technology and they're our champions there. So we're really grateful for that. So they said, this is a chance to go from a printed document, a printed PowerPoint to something really creative that's going to have some more lasting value. So the biggest thing we started with, well, how do we eat this elephant? And we'll talk about that. And then we'll go through our challenges and solutions. And then I'll show you some resources. And if I talk fast enough, we can actually see the real site. That's the biggest goal. So again, the county retreat is once a year. And they went from the printed report and used the new technology to create this dynamic and interactive site that we've got a lot of positive feedback from. The reason they liked Storymaps over Hub Site is because because this is a story to tell rather than a resource to go to, it flowed better. We tried making a Hub Site, but we found the story map just flows really well. And it's more user-friendly for Board of County Commissioners who are, as a general rule, not techie people. So we want it to be as simple as possible and yet as rich as possible for them. So it does have interactive things. It's got multimedia, and it's easily updatable, which became important. So old way again, a PowerPoint turned into a printed document. Once that thing is printed, it's done. So if you find a typo, you're in trouble. So the new way we did it is through the story map, and we'll go through that. So how do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time, right? So we have a new department director, and he's fabulous. And he had all these really great ideas. We should do this, we should do that. And then everybody was giving us this feedback of all these things we could do, and we started doing them, and we thought, wait a minute, we need to really focus on what we're doing because the Board of County Commissioners aren't going to want us to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. They're going to want to see a really focused, precise site. So we had to take this big thing and try to cut it down into manageable pieces to see where we're going to laser focus on this. So this is the story outline that we came up with. There's 5 main categories that they wanted to share as part of the Pulse Report every year. And that's demographics, health, housing, environment, infrastructure, and economy. And then subcategories to that, we had 3 major ways that we wanted to separate that out. We wanted to, of course, do the decennial, 2010 to 2020, and include a lot of the decennial data that we had available. We had to talk about the pandemic, obviously, because that really impacts everything else in the report. And then we have to talk about policy impacts. How does the decennial, the changes that have happened, and the pandemic, how does that affect our policy impacts? So GIS handled these 3 main areas. We didn't do health and we didn't do economy because some of the other department directors were handling that. We included it so that we could do the report part for them, But our main focus was demographics because we're the keeper of the demographics in the census data. We did a lot of the housing stuff, which if I demo it, that became a huge deal. And I'm sure it's a big deal in your agencies, in your area as well. Housing is huge. And in Mecklenburg County, it's really, really a big deal. And then environment and infrastructure. GIS is located within LUISA, which is Land Use and Environmental Services Agency. So we're with code enforcement and stormwater services and air quality. So we're more of an environmental facing group. We're part of it, but we serve the entire county, obviously. Oh. All right, so we had some challenges as we went through this. First one, obviously, as I said, is focus. So there's a massive amount of data. We had to choose the best data to show, and then we had to choose the best way to show it. We started this project around October 1st, and we had to have a completed site by December 27th. So we had a lot of stuff in a really short period of time. So we had to get departments that were providing us information, air quality and stormwater services specifically, to get us stuff like ASAP. And so we also had to set reasonable deadlines because they're all doing their stuff that they have to do for the retreat. So we had to be respectful of that, but still get what we needed when we needed it. And of course, we had to deal with how much is too much because we created a bunch of apps, a bunch of ArcGIS Online web maps, and then we had to think about, okay, are they going to really look at all this? Does this tell the right story? How are we going to handle all of this data? And we had to decide whether we're going to do a live website or we're going to do embeds. And then sharing it and keeping it useful. This is a lot of work we're putting into for a 30-minute presentation at the county commissioners. So we wanted to be something that they could refer back to time and again. And if they had questions, they could kind of maybe play around with the website. Is it simple enough that they could do queries? And then also make it visible by sharing on social media and things like that. So the solutions we came up with was to focus. First off, we wanted to make sure, as I showed you, that there's a consistency in the layout. And we wanted to focus on the maps and ask that best show the story we wanted to tell. Not that we didn't want to add more than we wanted to tell, but we wanted to make sure that the ones that told the story the best way were highly focused. And timely provision of content, we set clear deadlines and we stuck with them. We had one department that barely made it through because we said, we have to get something from you, otherwise we're just not putting you in the report. So we really focused specific about what we needed and when we needed advice. That worked well. And then the thing that took some time was deciding, again, what the live apps were going to be or versus the links. And I'll demo that. And then having to create some screenshots for them to be able to still get the idea of what data is there. We also had to figure out which ones we're going to embed and which articles that they wanted to share are also going to be embedded. We use social media. We have an app GIS for our social media for GIS, and it's a really popular site. They did a lot of consolidation of the web, of the social media presence for county departments, and we didn't get cut. So that was voted well for us. So we do have active social media users, so we were able to use that in addition to using the county's social media to be able to share the word, hey, there's this great resource out there. And it was also great because we were able to, when somebody found an error, we were able to fix it pretty quick. So again, solution, consistency, and layout. We use the county's color scheme. We now have standards in the county. So when I do the Hub Premium, we're going to be able to do that template for that, which will be nice. So we used some of those same hex codes to make sure that we were using the right colors for the county. So the font was the same, and you knew what the headline was, you knew what the subheadline and all that stuff. So there was a lot of consistency. So we also replaced a lot of the live apps that especially were super data heavy, like tree canopy changes. We didn't want to do a live tree canopy website there because that's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of points. So a lot of the stuff we did, we would take a screenshot, we'd take the live app there and do a screenshot, and then the link, if they wanted to see it, was down below. So if they wanted to explore further, they could click on that. And again, it was important for stuff like this. This is impervious surface, and we have a great impervious surface department, or stormwater infrastructure management team in GIS, that their whole job is to map impervious surface. So they created this for us. Everywhere you see black is new impervious surface since 2010. So there was a lot of changes. So we found it easier just to do screenshots and then have them click through if they wanted to explore that. And we wanted to make sure we didn't put too many embeds there, because we didn't want them to get stopped and leave the website and then come back. And the other problem we had was they didn't always look quite the same. And I don't know if I was doing it wrong, or, I mean, putting a URL in an embed should work the same, but it didn't always work quite the same. And I think it might have been due to the type of website, but it didn't affect the quality of the story map. So one of the folks on our team that created a graphic for the number of changes, we wanted to show them over the decennial how many new building permits, how many new parcels, how many new addresses, all that stuff, just so they could see the incredible growth in Mecklenburg County in 10 years. Then we realized that something wasn't right, and he was able to go back and calculate it. We were able to just quickly replace that. Once it was discovered, it was fixed within 5 minutes, so that was great. So Dr. Monica Allen, who's our Director of Strategic Planning and Evaluation, she's our great champion. She gave us this really great statement, because they love being partners with us. I've trained some of her staff, and they're already creating their own hub sites. So it's been really fabulous working with them. And so in conclusion of this part, before I demo it, it's proven to be a great way to tell a story of a broad audience, to a broad audience, that's impactful. It's more impactful than the written PowerPoint, or the printed PowerPoint, because they can interact with it. They can search further. It's richer, it's more, I don't know the best way to put this, but it's more appealing when they're looking at this, and they feel like they can understand it rather than just dry numbers and pictures. And when we produce these, here's some great resources. You can click on any of these, or if you want me to send you this, I can send you this. Some basic stuff to get you started, and a link to our Mecklenburg County GIS stories. So, had to throw in some memes. Being on social media, there's some really great GIS meme makers. I've got like about 50 now. I like that one. And then, as she said in the intro, I've been in GIS for 35 years. So this one really hit home to me. A lot of the people here at this conference were born after I graduated from college in 1985. She makes me feel very old. All right, so thank you. There's my general information. Then Amy, I'm gonna try to open our web page. Let's see how this goes. All right, I'm gonna try to start sharing. All right, Amy, can you see the story map?
Good to go.
All right, awesome. So I can't get it. Hold on, I'm gonna put this down. All right, that'll do. Okay, so it looks like any other story map. It has some information at the top, and get scrolling here. At the top bar are chapter markers. There's a way to do the heading in a story map that will leave you those chapters up there. So if somebody wanted, they didn't care about demographics, they were just caring about environment and infrastructure, they can click there and go right to that. So that was nice at the top. And then each section also has an overview so that people reading it can kind of get an idea of what they're getting into. So there was a lot of just demographic stuff showing how much we've grown. I think for the first time, Wake County's now bigger than us by not much, which was really surprising. I mean, it's not surprising, but surprising, you know what I mean? But yeah, Johnston County was the fastest growing and Wake was 4th and we were 6th. I'm gonna find a way to do this a little slower, sorry. One of our other analysts created this map that shows growth rates by census block group. That was a little tricky because of course the geography's changed from 2010 to 2020, but he was able to do it. And you can really see the areas that grew, which like a lot of places are around the outside and then some in the inner where there were a lot of apartments built in those 10 years. Oh, sorry about that. So we became more diverse as a county. So there was some information on that. And then this is a great map that was used with Living Atlas data. So it was great for us. We could just bring it in. We knew it was created through Esri Resources and it's forget the word that we use, verified basically. So it's got some great graphics. We didn't need to change colors or anything. It was great. So we used that, but we didn't want to embed that. So we created a link. And it's just a simple web app that folks could use and look at and use the Esri default pop-ups because they were just beautiful. Whoever created them, they're just really beautiful. So we didn't have to worry about that. I think the only thing I changed on that was for certain racial groups, I took off the parentheses not of Hispanic origin because they thought that was just too much. That's the only thing that's different. All right, I've lost myself, sorry. Did I just stop sharing my screen? Oh dear. Are you still there?
Yeah, you stopped sharing.
All right, sorry.
That's okay.
Come on. Oh, I closed my screen. Can you bring up my PowerPoint again, please?
Sure.
I love working from home, but not having dual screens at home is driving me crazy.
Do you need the link again?
Yeah, you can click on the link, that'd be great.
Oh, wrong one. Hang on one second. That one's yours, correct?
That's what I need to go to.
Okay.
That link down there. So the most controversial thing that we talked about was in the housing department. because the graphics in there show the increase in rents, monthly rents in Charlotte. And then there's also a graphic in there that shows what percentage of certain occupations can afford a average home price. It's really scary. Like it's like, I think it's 10% of school teachers can afford it. 2% of bartenders can afford it. There's a lot of that where you, oh, let me see if I can click it. Nope.
I don't know if you'll be able to click it. If you tell me when to stop scrolling.
Yeah, we're not seeing the, my app. Yeah, we're just seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay, hang on one second.
Okay.
Can you see the chat?
Yes, I can see who's here.
Okay, hang on one second.
My apologies. So the other thing that hopefully I can show you guys is UNC Charlotte's Urban Institute mapped all the corporate owned houses in Mecklenburg County. And there's a lot.
All right, Nancy, if you
So-
open up your chat there on Cape Lookout, I just resent your link. If you'll click on it, you should be able to open it and share it.
Michelle just saved my bacon here. Yep, I'm seeing it now. Thank you. All right. Let me get down to the housing. All right, a little slow, but that's good. So we talk about affordability, changes in prices based on different percentiles, affordability, pandemic and beyond. So this is affordability, house price by occupation. So only 6% of elementary school teachers can afford the median priced home in Mecklenburg County. And only 67% of, I think it's civil engineers, can afford the median priced home. That's not good. And then, whoops. This is a chart of average median 2-bedroom apartment rents from January 2020 through November 2021. And it's gone up to $14.49, I think that is, for a 2-bedroom apartment. And then we also took, this was kind of hard to demonstrate, but we took that map of the predominant racial categories and we overlaid it with the housing unit occupancy values. So median contract rent, so you could see what the median contract rent was overlaid by predominant racial categories. And this is the corporate-owned property. Now, the reason I'm really glad that we did this story map is we were right after the county's economist, and all the Board of County Commissioners were super interested in that, and they basically left us 15 minutes of our allotted time to do all of this. So after all the work we did, multiple people over 3 solid months, we were given 15 minutes. So a lot of the county commissioners knew we were kind of short on that. So I think they all kind of went back and explored it because they were very interested in this. And if you know anything about Mecklenburg County, we have what's called the crescent and the wedge. And the crescent is more of the lower income areas and the wedge is the upper income areas. And the thing that if you explore this map, the amount of corporate owned properties in the lower income areas is kind of shocking. And it's something that definitely negatively affects the people in those communities being able to afford homes in their own communities. And that's such an important thing for generational wealth that it's something that the county is looking very seriously at. So somebody asked me, did you try color coding it by who these people are, which corporations own which? And I said, you can't. because a lot of them name each property by some subset name. So it might be LNL Properties number 3. So you can't really do that very easily. So I don't know if I can go back to the story map again since I did this. I don't want to lose it again, but since I'm almost out of time, oh, I am out of time. So take a look at it. I will make sure that this gets sent out amongst all the stuff, or if you want to see it sooner, just let me know and I can give you that link. But again, to summarize, this has been a really great resource for us. It was a wonderful project to work for. And we learned a lot doing the process. And I think going forward, the Board of County Commissioners can see the value in it. And I think it's going to be great for GIS long-term to be able to be more visible. We've already always been a big part of the county, but I think the management is starting to see and get really excited about doing more and more projects. So I think we've already done 6 hub sites, and I think I've done like 30 story maps in my life. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to talk to me or reach out to me, nancy.ross@mechnc.gov. And thank you very much for your time, and I apologize for some of the technical issues there. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Okay, yes.
So when you're reaching out to the departments for their data to put this together, are you outlining those requests for them, or are they just kind of sending you what they have and then you figure out what to do with them?
Yeah, we've got all of their data as far as in GIS form, and we have access to it. So what we were trying to get from them is some graphics, like show how much from stormwater, how much in losses, property losses, have you saved over the past 10 years with your mitigation efforts. So we've put $15 million in mitigation of stormwater mitigation. We've saved approximately $7 million in property loss, that kind of thing. So I wanted them to do that. And then for air quality, I said, I just need to see a graph of how our air quality has improved over the years, how many good days and caution days we've had over the years. So that, I mean, I'm one of my main departments I serve, one of the departments I serve is air quality. So they got it back to me. But stormwater was a little bit more challenging because they've got so much going on. But I said, just get me one graph and I need it by next Tuesday. So specific and simple and timely. So, okay, question? The West Gap is the airport, Charlotte Douglas International Airport. Though where you see the red and green kind of all by themselves, that whole area there and south of there is a huge development that's just starting. So I forget what it's called, but it's one of those developments that has schools and parks and thousands of units of housing and stuff. It's a master plan community that's going to be huge. And then south, that is the established older neighborhoods. So those are the wealthier neighborhoods that don't see a lot of change, and the corporate owners don't buy them because the houses are too expensive. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, I'll just repeat it. Yeah, he was asking whether kind of mitigation for corporate owners to buy properties. And this is something that's just beginning to be discussed. I mean, being a free country, people can buy what they want to buy. But I have seen a lot of articles where HOAs get together and they change their rules to say, if you buy in our community, you have to stay in the community for 3 years. And that is something that a lot of corporate buyers don't want to have to deal with because they don't want to have to sit on a property for 3 years and not be able to rent it out. So people are kind of on the small micro level are starting to address this in their own communities because they're seeing their communities change. They're seeing them being rented out, and then the people that rent it are causing problems. And we saw that a lot in some neighborhoods that are just starting to come together and just starting to really revitalize and take control of things. And then this happens, and if people aren't owners in that community that are really striving to make it better, they're not invested in making it better. So, all right, thank you very much.